What's going on, everybody? This is John J. Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Earlham Teambuilder Dynasty here on NCAA 14, featuring that college football revamp, of course. And we are out here with the off season, getting ready to prepare for season number 4. But before we do any of that, let's go ahead and check out, just kind of recap, how, this season in general just kind of went down. Starting with the bowl games, notable bowl games, that happened, over the course of this season. And, we didn't win our bowl game, of course. We actually lost against the, Georgia State Panthers. Their name wasn't coming to me for whatever reason. And, across the board, we were okay. We had some notable bowl wins. Anderson won their bowl game. Kind of a hit or miss kind of thing. Charlotte actually does beat Bluffton in the BBA Compass Bowl at the end of the day. But Manchester, they win big. They ended up finishing number 3 in the entire country. Finishing beating LSU 56-14. Oh my. So don't feel bad, that we lost to them, because that's who ended up winning the conference championship. We finished second place to them, but we had a really good season overall. We kind of beat expectations a little bit. I did not think that we were going to make it to a bowl game. I was hoping that we could, and we ended up winning 7 games. So that makes me feel really good going forward. Just kind of feels like a season that we kind of beat expectations, and that's something that I'm really proud of, and that's something that I do really like to see going forward. As we go ahead now and check out the all NCAA list, see if we have any All-Americans in our group this season. And we actually do have somebody as a first team All-American. Justin Burden gets it and also wins the Jim Forte Award. So we're our first award winner that we have on the team. So, and he had a really good year as well. 71 tackles, 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, beating his first season numbers across the board. And he can only get better from here, man. He's only a 75 overall. He could definitely grow even better, than that even. As we go ahead now, check to see, just in case we have, anybody else that make it onto the second team. It looks like we did not have anyone else make it to that All-American list, but it does feel good that Justin Burden got recognized for his performances, over the course of this season. As we go ahead now, we check out the CV All-Conference list now. See, we're expecting Justin Burden to be on there, but we also have Matthew Sands. He was a pretty solid guy for us, 76 overall, 49 tackles, 27 TFLs, and doubled his sacks from last season as well. He had 8 total sacks, 2 pass deflections, a very solid defensive lineman. I would not be shocked if next season he goes for double-digit sacks, especially just because we only are going to get better. Although Jacob Ramos also does make the first team all-conference squad. Perfect from, 14 for 14 for made field goals, made all of his extra points. I'm not shocked that he was a first team guy, whatsoever. So we got a couple of players. Finn Otis, he's second team all-conference. His freshman year was a really special one. 39 tackles, 23 TFLs, and 9 sacks to go with it. That is insane, to say the least. Very good freshman campaign for him. And then Josh Brown, as a true sophomore, also getting it done. 62 tackles, 10 TFLs, 3 sacks, and then also had an interception as well. So a good season for Josh Brown. Got quite a few guys on this all-conference list. Hopefully we can continue to grow that as, this dynasty goes on. So we'll go ahead now and check out the season stats for the rest of our guys out here on that played for us here in season number 3. And the story for us on the offensive side of the ball was we start off with a 2-quarterback situation. Miami Ugallier and CJ Patton, each started off at that same overall rating. So we tried to employ both of them best we can. Try to bring Miami out for more of the easier, passing reads as well as read options and all that good stuff, while CJ Patton coming in for the more longer developing plays. But Miami Uiagalelei really separated himself, in the latter half of the season, was really getting some momentum, and then he got hurt. CJ Patton came in, and the rest was history. He was able to bring us to the bowl game, but Miami started the bowl game, and that did not end well. But, despite that, Miami Uiagalelei, not a too shabby sophomore campaign. He did have the same number of passing touchdowns, but keep in mind, he had significantly less passing attempts than last time around, and had less interceptions too. He had 8 interceptions compared to 21 his freshman year, and also completed 60% of his passes as well, which something that I do really like to see, considering he is taking better care of the football overall, except that last game. The last game was a little unfortunate, and on top of that, he had twice as many rushing touchdowns as well, this time finding the end zone 8 times, so, and almost 600 yards rushing on the ground as well, despite less carries. So he was more efficient with his carries overall, which is something that I certainly like to see going forward as well, as we can continue to, try to build around Miami and what his skill set brings. I do think I'm going to make him, the starting quarterback for good, unless we do, somehow bring another, high quality quarterback in, to compete with Miami. But as for CJ, CJ Patton, he had his moments overall. He had, about 50% completion percentage, 1,000 yards passing, 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. He was a little bit of a disappointment, to be honest. We brought him in because he had, good throw power and at least above average throw accuracy overall, 76 accuracy. But it didn't seem like that really transpired onto the field at times. I don't know what was going on there. He was good enough in his starts to win, 2 of his 3 starts, which, that's something, to be said. He is a tough kid, but, I think CJ Patton, I think his ceiling realistically on this team is a backup quarterback, and there's nothing wrong with that. He can run most of our offense, but what really hampers it is just the fact that he's not athletic enough to run our option plays, and that was a centerpiece of our offense this season. And speaking of, those read options in that rushing attack, we check out to see, how our rushing attack did. And CJ Holman actually almost hit 1,000 yards on the ground. It was his first season on the field. He was coming in from Notre Dame, did not play at Notre Dame, transferred, had to sit the year out, and then his first year on the field, finally in year number 3, he had 7 touchdowns on the ground too, which is really cool to see, but almost, and I mean almost, hit 1,000 yards. He was right there. Just literally, we gave him the ball one more time, and if he didn't get hurt, towards the end of the season, he would have definitely gotten there too, because he did not play against Anderson, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Jesse Green, did get some backup carries as well, and he was pretty solid too. 72 carries for 426 yards. He had 6 touchdowns, many of them coming, in that breakout performance that he had, towards the beginning of the season once we got into conference play. He had a 73-yard run that he broke to the crib, and, had 6 touchdowns on the ground as well. Derek Blue was also able to find the end zone. Joey Washington, a preferred walk-on on the squad, he found the end zone. And then Bob Smith, our walk-on fullback, with 2 touchdowns on the ground. You love to see it. As for the receivers, this was mainly the Derek Blue show this year. This man, he was balling out in his freshman campaign. 48 catches for 740 yards. He had 11 touchdowns as well. I was actually really shocked that he did not get either first or second team all-conference. That blows my mind. 11 touchdowns, that is, really amazing. Particularly to do that, as a freshman, that speed really helped us out on the outside, opened up some space for other receivers. As Akeem Short, he stepped back a little bit. Granted, he didn't get as many, he didn't get as many catches, as he did last year, but, he had the same number of touchdowns, 600 yards. It was still a solid season, and we were going to him more often, but, he had less drop passes as well. Jakeem Short, just maybe wasn't meant to be a number 1 receiver. I think Derek Blue has what it takes to do just that. But, Jakeem Short showing that he can be a solid wide receiver, having 2 good seasons. Adam Hill III was able to find the end zone multiple times. He ended up with more touchdowns than he did in his freshman campaign. Had 409 yards, He got a little bit better, than he did in his freshman campaign. Less drops, too, which I like to see. And Zariah Bond also had multiple catches. He took a step back as well, There was a lot of talented receivers that came in like the last couple of years. And, there's not going to be enough room for everybody naturally. So that was going to happen. And then St. Wilhelm did find the end zone as well. Now for blocking, we didn't have too many pancakes happen for us over the course of the season. But Jacoby Black, led the way with pancakes. He had 5 total pancakes in this one with Andy Richardson and Lionel Williams. Both, contributing right away. 2 freshman linemen getting some work. Ray Stevenson had 2 pancakes, but also had 3 sacks given up. But that's, partially, because we do scramble out that side sometimes. Sam Price III, had a pancake but allowed 4 sacks, which was the most on the team. But we have 2 right-handed quarterbacks. We scramble to the right. That's going to happen sometimes. And then finally on the defensive side of the ball, Justin Byrne, we talked about him earlier. He had 76 total tackles. He led the way there. But Nate Hunt in his first year on the field did a really good job as well. He had 66 tackles, 15 TFLs. He had 2 sacks, an interception, and even had a defensive touchdown on top of it. He was a really good person for us to be able to bring in, and he really showed out in his freshman campaign. I can't wait to see how else he's going to grow moving forward, but I can't wait to see that. Josh Brown, the other linebacker that we mainly had on the field, he was pretty good as well. I talked about him earlier. He had 65 tackles. Matt Sands leading the way. Finn Otis was a monster in his freshman campaign as well. But Justin Byrne, again, surprisingly with TFLs. Usually it's not great when you have a safety leading you in tackles, but at the same time, this was a guy that played close to the box, was that 8th man in that box at some times, and really helped stifle our running defense at times. As Nate Hunt had multiple TFLs. Ian Levine, he didn't get as much playing time, I don't think, that he did last season, but he had more tackles, more TFLs, more sacks. He made the most of that opportunity as well. With sacks, something that I'm really proud of is that we did a really good job of getting to this quarterback overall this season. Finn Otis and Matthew Sands, they are going to be, a defensive end combination that's going to be really tough to deal with as, the years go on. Both of them are definitely going to come back, so I'm really excited for that. Justin Byrne also had 4 sacks with Josh Brown and Ian Levine. Getting to him a few times. Brad Gardner as well as a true freshman. He was a preferred walk-on and, didn't get much playing time either, but, had a couple of sacks. Same thing with Greg Jenkins, who actually kicked inside, at times, because that defensive end position for us is pretty deep relative to the rest of our squad. So he ended up with multiple sacks as well. And then Izzy Ray and Josh Hill each got to the quarterback once. We had Justin Byrne also with 3 interceptions, but he was also the only person at the same time that had multiple INTs. Martavius McCary, he had an interception and brought that back to the crib. Same thing with Nate Hunt. MJ Granson had an interception. Cameron Frost, Josh Brown, Caden Doman, and Reggie Chapman all had interceptions, which I like to see it. We also had a few forced fumbles that Caden Doman, Cameron Frost, and Josh Brown forced, but we only recovered one of them. That was Justin Byrne that was able to get his hands on the football. And then finally we had 3 defensive touchdowns throughout the entire season, 2 of them against Transylvania. So defense, really improved in season 3. We should be getting the vast majority of our starters back here, for next season. So I'm excited to see what we can do, going into season 4, see if we can be more dominant. So we go ahead and move on to the coaching changes, as well as see if there's any players that, ended up leaving as well. And we're actually going to go ahead and keep our coaching staff together. That's the first time in this dynasty that that's actually going to happen, which I really do appreciate, for sure. We can run our same playbook. The 4-2-5, seems to be really helping us with our running defense. If we can get things right with our passing defense, we're going to be okay. And what's going to really help us as well, we don't have any players leaving. You know, we're going to continue to bring in some good talent. You know, it's going to be a fight to hold on to a roster spot here next season. So I'm personally really excited, you know, just to see how things shake out, you know, because when we get the cuts, we're going to have to make some difficult decisions. But that being said, you know, we'll worry about that when we get there. So we also find out that we have a transfer request coming our way. A defensive tackle from Mount St. Joseph, Tom Sullivan. He's a true freshman that was redshirt from Defiance, Ohio. You know, has some decent stats. He didn't see the field because he had that red shirt, but has some solid strength, tackle, and power moves that we can work with for sure. He could be a good depth piece, and I am, you know, more than happy, you know, to give him the opportunity, you know, to play at Earlham, man, because he didn't feel like he was gonna ever get that chance at you know, Mount St. Joseph. But you know, that being said, though, we'll, you know, have a nice veteran piece, you know, potentially, you know, to continue to have great competition at the defensive tackle position, because we were a little bit light there. So this is definitely welcomed. So even with the transfer that we just got in from Mount St. Joseph, we still have 12 scholarships to work with, but I'm not going to go ahead and use all of them because, one, our house rule says we can only go after players that are in our pipeline states and, you know, are interested in us in the first place. And then, you know, secondarily, even if we did, had, less restrictive recruiting rules, in place, in this dynasty, I probably wouldn't use all of them anyways, just because we are not losing anybody. Like, we're literally not losing a single player, from last year's roster. But there is one person I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for DeJuan Armstrong. He's a 3-star guy. We've been in a recruiting battle with him all year long. It's between us and Mount St. Joseph, but I don't know if they're going to put 10,000 points into this guy, but we will, because I do like to have, a ton of depth, at that offensive line. I want that to be a strength for our squad. So, that being said, I'm going to head towards signing day. Let's see if we get this guy, as well as any preferred walk-ons that we end up signing in the process. Alright guys, so we do end up, we get the guy that we want. We end up getting DeJuan Armstrong, but it looks like we signed, a couple of other prospects too. So it does look like we'll get a couple of preferred walk-ons join the squad. I'll have to go ahead and check out who those guys are and then let you know, because what I do like to do, if there's people that, that I didn't actively go after and they still sign with me, I give them a little bit of a attribute reduction, so that, they can, simulate themselves as preferred walk-ons. Man, words are really hard today. I don't know why, but it is what it is. But, we end up using 16 of our 25 scholarships, and, we ended up with a, an okay recruiting class. We ended up with a 96 ranked recruiting class overall. Most of them being 3-star guys. Part of it, what killed us is we didn't get any 4 or 5-star players, which definitely hurt us for sure. But also, we only signed 16 players, which usually isn't a lot, but we didn't need to bring in a lot of players. We're just looking for guys that could be good depth for us moving forward. A lot of our core guys are actually already in place. They just have to go ahead and grow and develop. So I'm not worried that we had one bad recruiting class. We just got, we do have to do a little bit of a better job next season. Hopefully, we'll have some players that are more interested in us now that we have a bowl appearance under our belt finally. See if we can go ahead and turn things around, at least for next season. But we'll see what happens. So we do get into position changes, and 2 of the guys that we are looking for that were preferred walk-ons. Lester Williams is the first one. He was a 51 overall quarterback from Clarksville, Indiana. If he does make the team, he will get a slight point reduction, but, I actually would not be shocked if he's cut, because, we did bring in some quality recruits, at the areas that, we did, bring players in. And then the other preferred walk-on that we have is Nick Mullins. He's from Akron, Ohio, but he's only a 51 overall with the 234th ranked cornerback. We could use a little bit of corner help moving forward, but again, he'll get a little bit of a point reduction as well, and I actually wouldn't be shocked if he ends up getting cut at the end of the day as well. With that being said though, one of the position changes I'm thinking about making is moving one of our tight ends to the fullback position, because we do need to have at least one fullback on the roster, and Bob Smith is supposed to graduate, after, this upcoming season. So because we have this influx of tight ends, I'm thinking about moving Kobe Johnson, just because, we don't need 4 tight ends necessarily for the type of spread offense that we're running. So I'm actually going to go ahead, and just kick him into the inside, and see, if he can develop well enough there to remain on the squad. Because, Kobe Johnson, the thing with him, that makes it interesting, he is 6'8", but, on the field when he had chances, he just couldn't get open. He only had 1 catch for 4 yards, so he really, didn't make any kind of impact on the field whatsoever. I think it might be better off if Kobe Johnson played at that fullback position. One thing that I do really like though is that we have quite a young group of guys here for our offensive line. Because we brought in so many offensive linemen, we are actually like 3 deep, at least like every position, so we're looking pretty good. We do need to look for a center, moving forward, but that being said, oh man, that being said though, we're looking pretty good, for our offensive line overall, so that's going to be like a nice spot for us. Left end, we got plenty of, defensive linemen now as well on top of it. So that's going to be, really, intriguing to watch going forward. I'm interested in this battle between Marcus Johnson and Finn Otis. Finn Otis had a great season, but Marcus Johnson, thanks to his redshirt bonus that he got, because we do give every redshirt, a little bit of a bonus, because they are, just, practicing, and they're emphasizing their time practicing. Marcus Johnson and Finn Otis seem to be pretty neck and neck. That 75 speed, that could be, that could be huge going forward, especially if it develops, his other skill sets going in. And then at right end, Matthew Sands, he'll still be there, anchoring it down. Defensive line, we're bringing in plenty of defensive tackles. And that's going to be, a pretty deep position for us now. So I don't think we don't have to. We might bring in 1 or 2, linemen for each side of the ball for here on out. But, that being said, it's not something that I'm going to be actively worried about moving forward. Just because, we have so many linemen. Looking around the rest of the roster to see if there's any other moves that we should try to make, and we're looking pretty good across the board. Free safety, we have a bunch of upperclassmen on both sides of the both the free safety and the strong safety position, so we do need to definitely emphasize going after safeties going up into season 4. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty good about the position changes that we already made. And I want to go ahead and check out the training results. So checking out the training results, we finally have our first 90 plus overall player in this dynasty. It's our kicker, Jacob Ramos. He's up to a 94 overall now. He's got 95 kick power and 95 kick accuracy. This dude, is going to be a great weapon for us. Touchback machine. We don't have to worry about any special teams touchdowns, with him at the plate. And then on the defensive side of the ball, now we have a few guys, 80 overall or higher. Nate Hunt, RJ Greenlake, Matthew Sands, and Justin Burden, all 80 overall and above. Team is really starting to come along, building this team little by little. As for the rest of the positions, Miami Uiagalelei, he maintains that starting quarterback spot. He moves up to a 75 overall, with CJ Patton moving up to a 73. At halfback, CJ Holman separates himself, during the rest of the winter and the spring. Gets away from Jesse Green enough to maintain that starting halfback spot. He's a 78 now, with Jesse Green being a 76. At fullback, Bob Smith is now a 62, with Kobe Johnson. He's going to be up to a 56 overall for the time being. Wide receiver, you know, we got 4 wideouts, you know, at 70 overall or higher. Jakeem Short going to be leading the way, 77 with Adam Hill, Derek Blue, and Jariah Bond. Could be some decent supporting pieces moving forward. Can't wait to see what they can do. Tight end, Danny Carson's actually the only tight end, you know, that was, you know, not a true freshman. He gets a little bit of a boost. And, you know, our offensive line, man, the offensive line, I have to say, is really starting to come together. It did a pretty good job overall, you know, just, you know, last season, and it's only going to get better. We bring back all of our starting offensive linemen, and they're going to have to compete to keep those spots as well for the time being. Meanwhile, Marcus Johnson and Finn Otis, 73 and 72 respectively. That's still going to be a really close battle, but I want to see if he makes an all-conference team for the preseason. If so, he'll get a boost, and then he'll end up starting over Marcus Johnson. At right end, Matthew Sands, already talked about him. He's an 80. Defensive line, Tom Sullivan leads the way, but he is a transfer, so he won't be able to play this season. Looks like Ian Levine and Brad Gardner will most likely at least compete for starting spots here early, with Maurice Rice and Coco Ray, you know, still being able to get up in there and, you know, at least get some sort of playing time. Left outside linebacker, RJ Greenwakes is an 80 overall. King Ray is a 75, with Josh Brown now sitting at a 73. And right outside linebacker, we got Nate Hunt. He's now an 82, with Seth Gray with a 79. At the cornerback position, Mario Hernandez and Deontay McLaurin are each 74 overalls, with MJ Granson should be ready to go as, you know, one of our guys that could be a slot corner for us. He's got that decent 88 speed that we can work with. Then finally at free safety, we have Cameron Frost, who's a 77, and then Justin Byrne, who's an 80 overall and could get higher if he is on a preseason All-American team. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so remember when I talked about, you know, cutting players will be, you know, really tough to do because we're not losing anybody? I wasn't joking. We have to cut 17 players, dude. That is going to be so difficult to do at the end of the day. But I do think the first 2 guys I'm going to cut, Lester Williams and Nick Mullins. I didn't even recruit these guys, to be honest. You know, I think they're going to go ahead and get the axe first. So you can go. In the meantime, though, you know, things start to get really interesting, you know, at this point. And it gets kind of sad, too, because, you know, we're talking about some guys that, you know, have been around for a really long time, you know. But, you know, Josh Hill and Daniel McDarris, you know, are just 2 guys that aren't going to, you know, make it onto the field. But McDarris gets really lucky because, you know, I have to keep a minimum amount at the position. Baron All, you know, probably gonna get going as well. He never did anything for us, unfortunately. MJ Clark, you know, just, you know, not good enough. It's tough to do because it's a lot of better players, or at least guys that have been around for a really long time. A lot of original walk-ons. Gonna go ahead and get the axe. Danny Carson, too. We're gonna let him go, unfortunately. He was a decent weapon for us, but we got some better tight ends, you know, for us to work with going forward. You know, it's tough, man. It is really, you know, tough to see, you know, some of these guys go. Kobe Johnson, too, you know, he isn't going to be able to make the cut. He was a 6'8" guy, someone we were kind of excited about. I mean, it just is what it is, you know. Although Thomas Hall will be able to stick around because we don't have enough corners to, you know, cut anybody else. As we, you know, trying to figure out what else we want to do. Here, you know, I think I'm going to go ahead and, you know, cut these seniors because they are going to graduate anyways. So Shane Call is going to get cut. Brandon Pierce is going to get cut. Let's see, Grant Martin, he's going to get the axe as well. And that still leaves free cuts. So we got one of these 4 is going to make it. We got Ben Robbins, Alvin Wilson, Luke Hall, and Damian Utley. Are all, you know, the options that we have. Let's see what we can go ahead and do here. Alright, so first and foremost, we do have 6 defensive linemen, which, you know, that's kind of, you know, ridiculous. So Damian Utley's going to end up getting it at the end of the day. At middle linebacker, though, probably Luke Hall. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of him just because, you know, we only need 2 linebackers on the field at any given time in our base defense. And we already have a decent amount of like linebackers on the roster. We have 8 linebackers already total for only 2 spots, you know, on the field at any given time. So Luke Hall, he's gonna, you know, get cut. The interesting thing is, you know, what we want to do between Alvin Wilson and Ben Robbins. Both of them are junior red shirts. It's gonna be a tough decision, but I'm gonna go with Ben Robbins because he would be a 4th stringer at that right guard position. So I think it's best if we cut him. And that's going to be the last cut I'm going to make. That rounds it out down to 70 guys. That was really brutal, man. I'm going to tell you what. But this is what our roster is going to look like going into Season 4. I can't wait to get at it. Alright guys, so next up we do have our red shirts that I do want to go ahead and do here, you know, going into season number 4. And not only that, but also show you guys, you know, the true freshmen that are joining the team and are eligible, you know, if you wanted to go ahead and have a custom prospect. I completely forgot, you know, to do that stuff earlier, but, you know, these are, you know, the true freshmen that did make the team, you know, because we did have so many cuts, you know, this season. But, you know, as for our red shirts, we are going to redshirt most of our defensive linemen that we got this past season. Sean Cox, Andy Robinson, Jamie Jenkins, Robert Callahan. Also going to redshirt Xavier Robertson, Mike Rogers, and Alan Davis. So we're going to have quite a few red shirts, and, you know, they're all, you know, if you want to go ahead and, you know, get a custom player, you know, just let me know down in the comments. I will have a player, little bit of a player template in the as a pinned comment for you guys to follow. Also, Tom Sullivan is available as well, but keep in mind he won't see the field either this season because he is a transfer. But yeah, these are the red shirts that I'm going to probably roll with here going into season number 4. Now, one more person that we're going to go ahead and redshirt as well is Cedric Hill, who's also available, you know, to become a custom player if you wanted to go ahead and do that. Alright, y'all, so this is what the schedule we are going to go ahead and put together going into season number 4. And we put ourselves in a little bit of a doozy, man. Shout out to the channel members, by the way, for helping me decide which non-conference teams I play against here in the regular season. We're going to start things off. We got a road trip going up against the Ole Miss Rebels. And follow that up, going on the road, playing against the number 3 team in the entire nation, the Michigan Wolverines. We're playing that team up north, man. It's going to be a heck of a challenge, but I think our guys are ready for it. I think, you know, we can, you know, step up to the occasion this time around. And, you know, playing these tougher teams, you know, really helped us in conference play last season. And then for our final game before we go into conference play, we'll play against Arkansas State. The Red Wolves, you know, we'll have them at home. That'll be our first home game of the season. And then we'll also get into conference play after that. And if we, you know, make it to the conference championship game this season and win it, you know, I'm thinking about moving them up to a better conference. Just because, you know, they did a really good job, you know, in season number 3. We were 7-2 in conference play, I'm pretty sure. So that's, you know, that's just something different. But that's if we make it to the conference championship game. So next episode, we will begin season number 4 here at the Earlham Dynasty. I can't believe it's already our 4th season with this series, man. We go on the road to play against Ole Miss. We play against an SC team squad. It's going to be an interesting matchup, man. I think we're ready for it. If you're excited for season number 4 like I am, man, make sure to smash that like button, you know, down below. It only takes a few seconds, but helps a brother out. In addition, if you do happen to be brand new as well and love the content here on this channel, I need you guys to also do me a favor, hit that subscribe button as well. I would truly appreciate it. In the meantime, though, I hope you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.